Well, as you know, in Fridays is normally the day before the weekend starts, but today we're going to be reviewing, of course, New Japan Pro Wrestling with more of the New Japan Cup. As you know, we're getting closer to the end. We're right now going to be reviewing the quarterfinals. We're going to have Sonata versus Tetsuya Naito, and of course, Mark Davis takes on Evil. I think these two matches are going to be something interesting to enjoy because everybody wants to make it to the finals. But also, we're going to be reviewing AEW Rampage. Hobbs, as you know, who is our brand new TNT champion, puts it out on the line in an open challenge, and Ray Phoenix actually accepts it. We got Daniel Garcia taking on Brody King and many other things. And of course, who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? For our news, interesting, how do I say, development regarding Davey Richards. Some of you may have heard what's been going on, some of you have not, but we'll get to that, and there's plenty other things to be talking about. So, let's get ready for another episode of Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Welcome everybody to Deleted Wrestle Zone, all things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, Impact Wrestling, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, Gerard here. So, let's begin with New Japan Pro Wrestling with more on the New Japan Cup. We're now in the quarterfinals, so we're going to see who's going to make it to the semifinals. So our opening matches, we have, of course, TMDK, more consistent with Kosa Fujita and Zack Sabre Jr., taking on the members of House of Torture, Sho and Yujiro Takahashi. Now, you know for a fact with these type of matches that, of course, the House of Torture will always find ways to cut corners to win at any cost. So basically, that's how it plays out. But I have to say, Fujita actually really hanging in there against Yujiro, but Yujiro was just too much until he applied the pimp juice for having him be just lying down for the cover. 1, 2, 3, it was over. Next up, we got the United Empire, Aaron Henare, Great Khan, Kyle Fletcher, and Jeff Cobb taking on Oscar Lobe, Royusuke Taguchi, who's dressing up like the Great Khan, Tomoaki Amna, and Togi Makabe. But one thing that it was crazy is Great Khan raping Taguchi. Like he was right on top of him when the members of United Empire saw, they like turned away. I was like, I'm not watching this. So I thought it was funny. But basically, the only thing that is the main weapon for Taguchi is his ass, and basically it kind of Great Khan disrupted it. But as you know, when it comes to you know the Empire trying to prove that they are at the top of the food chain, it was Kyle Fletcher who picked up the win when he applied a tombstone onto Oscar Lobe. As you know, Oscar Lobe is a young lion. That's always an X factor that they're most likely will be the ones to be taking the fall. So that's always plays out interesting. But however, we will see those guys in support of Mark Davis later on. Now our next match, we got the members of Chaos consisting of Yano, our current IWGP Tag Team Champions, Yoshihashi and Goto as the Bushiman team. They take on Satoshi Kojima, Hiroyoshi Tenzan, and Tama Tonga. Now keep in mind, Tama Tonga and Hiroki Goto will be meeting each other at the quarterfinals the following day, which was very interesting to hear. But I have to say it's a good preview. But unfortunately, it was, of course, Yano when Kevin Kelly says, my monitor went out, was the reason that kind of put away both Makabe and Hamna, but however, it was Yana who put the schoolboy onto Tenzan to pick up the win. But between Goto and Tamatonga, one of those two will have to surpass each other in the tournament. Now, interesting news has been announced from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We have the return of the best of the Super Juniors. I have to say, I'm excited. I hope they bring in some wrestlers internationally from outside. Like for me, I would like to see Alex Zane, even though that he looks more like a heavyweight, but he moves like a junior heavyweight for his size. Um, I don't know who else they would bring. I wouldn't be surprised if they bring in wrestlers from Noah or All Japan Pro Wrestling. That is something I know it could possibly happen, but they haven't announced yet who will be. But I will keep apprised with that until they make more announcements on that. But it will start. Excuse me. The tournament starts on the 12th of May in Corkin Hall. Uh, Most tournaments actually start that way. I think that's how it plays out. But well, whatever. But yeah, I'm just excited that it's back. Now, our next match, we have Chaos members Tomohiro Ishii versus with Yo and Leo Rush taking on members of Lij, Bushi, Hiromu Takahashi, and Shingo Tagaki. Now, in this match, there's the storyline between both Leo Rush and Hiromu Takahashi, who will be challenging for the IWGP title. But in recently, as you know, many matches where we saw Hiromu winning against Leo Rush during tag teaming, it's always been haha for him. But the much recent match, it was no longer haha for Hiromu. So basically, Hiromu thought that he had everything under control. But nope, not this time. But luckily, in this particular match, it was Leo Rush who picked up the win when he rolled up Bushi and 1, 2, 3. Now, for a fact this is going to be a good match between both Hiromu and Leo Rush. Because as you know, as I announced already, we got the best of the Super Juniors coming up. And I'm sure both of them would want to be champion before then. So that tells us something right there. Now, our next match, we have the Bullet Club, consistent of El Phantasmo, Chase Owens, Kenta, and David Finlay, taking on the members of Strong Style, El Desperado, Ren Narita, and Minoru Suzuki, and they team up with none other with the Roughneck himself, Shota Umino. Now, if you guys know this or not, Finlay and Shota Umino will be meeting each other in the quarterfinals the following day in the New Japan Cup. So that's basically another preview. But what this match is, as you know, it became much of a tough match ever. Basically, uh, they immediately attack Umino and Strong Style, and you probably can guess that this match ended with, of course, with one. I wasn't sure who was gonna end it, but I have to say I did like how the interaction in the ring between both Kenta and Suzuki was going to be. Apparently, they're two of the most dangerous wrestlers you probably can imagine. But it was, of course, Suzuki with the Gotch style power driver on Kenta, and he pinned him. Now, here's the interesting part regarding after this match. As you all know, those who don't, Kenta is our strong open weight champion. He won that title from Fred Rosser, all thanks to Juice Robinson. But now Minoru Suzuki pinned him. That is the indication that Minoru Suzuki wants that title. So basically, he is saying, laying down the challenge, I want to challenge you for this belt. But however, at the end of the match, the thing between Umino and Finlay was heating up while Strong Style stayed out of it so that the other members of Bullet Club, so this is between those two. So it tells us now that is on between both Umino and Finlay in the quarterfinals. So we will see what happens then. But right now, let's just move on with the next matches involving with the New Japan Cup. Our next match is between Evil and Mark Davis. Now, Mark Davis originally was not supposed to be in this match, but he was handpicked by Will Ospreay after his match with Ospreay, the previously put him on the sideline, and he, basically Mark Davis is most likely the good choice. But Mark Davis has proclaimed that This will be the tournament where United Empire will be at the top. But we'll see about that. But in this case, as you know, Evil will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Now, Evil, we have seen him cut corners because he has the members of the House of Torture by his side. Luckily, there was a brawl going around because here's what happened. Evil was outside the ring. He looks at Davis saying, "You got your entire posse. Are you too scared to face me?" We all know that's not true. Evil thinks that he has every right to have it, but he even said that he's nothing but an effing loser. So basically, that's how it started. But the brawl between United Empire and House of Black just broke down. The House of Torture broke down on one side of the ring while Evil was trying to warn out Davis, and it became chaotic. So ref had no other choice but to throw both teams out. Basically, that is what happened. So it kind of went one on one for the time being, but I have to say it was a pretty good match. But in this case, we all know that there's something was going to happen. The referee was out, and then here comes Dick Togo out of nowhere, and then here comes Fletcher with the help, and then of course Yujiro and Show showed up to make sure that this match ends with Evil. But Will Ospreay shows up, led the charge with for the United Empire to stop Evil from what he's doing. But the best moment is uh, Khan actually handcuffed himself with Dick Togo, so basically he's stuck with him. But as soon as that match was over, it was Davis who picked up the win against Evil, announcing him in the semifinals. But his opponent will be none other between both Naito and Sonata. But the best part is Khan took a souvenir and he took um, Dick Togo. Now, if I was Evil, I know for a fact that he would definitely want revenge against United Empire for costing him this match, because Evil will stop at nothing to get what he wants. Now, our main event is the most interesting one. We have a bit of an LIJ showdown between Sonata and Tetsuya Naito. Now, from what Kevin Kelly has mentioned, Naito is undefeated in Korakuen Hall. However, he knows there's something else at stake for himself as well. If you guys remember or not, Sonata is a student of Keiji Muto. Now, remember, it was Tetsuya Naito who defeated Muto in his retirement match back in February. And he is like, okay, I defeated the master. I have no problem defeating the mentor. But in this case, in this type of match, from what I'm seeing, Naito would do anything in his humanly possible to win. But even if he has to go a bit of aggressiveness in order to do so. But Sonata, he was nowhere near being aggressive. He knows what's at stake. But it was a pretty good match until Sonata applied that somewhat of a DDT move that he's been using recently. Like, it's not a normal one where you just stand, but he just tried something. But it's very, very powerful for that. So it was Sonata who picked up the win. But the interesting part, Taichi showed up. Now, it was very unusual to see Taichi showed up because, as you know, there's like some sort of interaction between the two of them. And when we thought things were getting interesting, here comes the other members of Just Four Guys. And then all of a sudden, we saw handshakes and hugs between Sonata and Just Four Guys. No one knows what was going on. So Sonata mentioned that he quits LIJ because he felt if he stays, he's not going to go anywhere. So he is making it perfectly clear. He's done with LIJ. He's moving on to go to the top, even if it has to be with Taichi. And of course, as you know, Just Four Guys mentioned from the very start that there's going to be some changes, that they want to do some things that will turn the entire wrestling world upside down. And they weren't kidding. Sonata joining was possibly another stepping stone for them. So now they decided to go Just Four Guys to Just Five Guys. But how does this affect LIJ? What does this mean for them? Now, I know many fans have talked about in the past that Sonata is better off without Naito, and I guess the wish came true. I'm not going to lie about that. But we'll see what happens. Now, Sonata is in the semifinals. He will face against Mark Davis. But here's the thing. Davis did mention that when he first arrived in New Japan many years ago, the opponents that he lost to in the tag match with Fletcher was Evil and Sonata. Now, as you know, he defeated Evil, but Sonata, he's next. But the obvious thing is, now that Sonata has basically changed his direction, will will Dart Davis be able to stop him? We don't know, because now the game has changed. I'm sure that the United Empire would have assumed that Naito was going to win it because he was the fan favorite. But we'll see what happens then till we get to the semifinals. So I think that's it, pretty much it with New Japan Cup. I believe it's time to AEW Rampage. Okay, AEW Rampage opened up with the TNT title in an open challenge. As you know, this is something that Will Hobbs did now since winning that title, all thanks to that scumbag QT Marshall. So, Ray Phoenix answered and he became the challenger. Now, keep in mind, Phoenix, he may be fast, but however, the smart plan that Hobbs has applied is try to wear out Phoenix. Now, much of the match, Phoenix had no breath he can take. He would do anything possible to escape the grasp of Hobbs. Now, you could say that Phoenix would have had a much better advantage due to his speed, but no. Hobbs had a game plan all this time, and it worked. But he got actually tortured and slammed for Hobbs to retain the title. But however, QT Marshall, the sick little bastard, decided that he's going to diamond cut Alex Berhamontes, thinking that he has on top of the world. But sooner or later, someone's have to deal with QT and his little QT TV posse. Now, I mentioned before on a news update that Stu Grayson is now officially All Elite again. So he had a direct message to Jon Moxley. Now, what if you guys remember? Jon Moxley had a match with Evil Uno in a singles match. We all can say it was a pretty good match. But the one thing that the storyline was telling us that Jon Moxley refuses to let go of Evil Uno when he submitted him with a chokehold, but he refused that. Stu Grayson did not take that too kindly because he felt that once you won the match, you let him go. So he felt this is not the right way. So he decided to come back, and this time he will get his hands on Evil Uno. On Jon Moxley this coming Wednesday. I'm sure that Hangman Page and the other members of the Dark Order will have his back, regardless of what's been going on between both. As you know, Moxley and Blackpool Combat Club refuses to let go the loss that Moxley had against Hangman. Now, we saw on Dynamite the most surprisingly debut in AEW, Taya Valkyrie. Her opponent is none other than Ava Lawless. Now, you can say this match ended with, of course, Taya Valkyrie. Now, think about it. Taya Valkyrie stood toe-to-toe right in front of Jade Cargill. So now the obvious thing is Taya Valkyrie a threat to the undefeated streak of Jade Cargill? Most likely, yes. But, however, I kind of had a feeling this was going to happen. As you know, Taya Valkyrie has a move called the Road to Valhalla, which is the same kind of move that Jade Cargill has been using, known as Jaded. So she took out Ava Lawless. Now, as soon as the match was over, Taya Valkyrie noticed right in the stage Jade along with Layla and that weasel Smart Mark Sterling. Now, I wouldn't be surprised if Sterling decides to say that Taya Valkyrie has no right to use the Road to Valhalla because it's copyright. Now, I would say that Taya Valkyrie will have a good attorney saying that she's been using that move longer than Jade Cargill. If that happens, that means Sterling has lost. So if I was Taya Valkyrie, I would definitely try and get a lawyer who can do that. Now we see a little video segment with Stokey Hathaway. As you know, he has a date with Destiny with Hook. And Isaiah Cassidy, Matt Hardy, and Ethan Page are trying to get him trained. But he looks a little clumsy. I thought it was just so fun, because he knows Hook is no slouch. You can say that, but something was so funny. I just couldn't stop laughing. But it's so great. Let me take my breath. All right, moving on. Our next match, we have tag team action. The Bollywood Boyz, Harv and Gurv Singh, head to the ring. They take on the members of the JSA, Matt Menard and Angelo Parker. Now, the reason they chose this match is because, as you know, recently we've been watching both Menard and Parker are trying to recruit the Acclaim into the JSA, saying that they are entertainers and they're a perfect fit. But they chose to be in this match to show them this is how it's done in the JSA. This is why you should join us. But the obvious thing I'm really kind of curious, I don't know if you guys should, was the Acclaim paying attention or they just, ignored them, just not worry about their match? Who knows? But this match would end it with Parker and Menard with the double inverted DDT, and it was over just like that. So you can say that. Now we saw a very interesting video that happened early in this week. Now we all been watching Don Callis tries to recruit to be the manager for Konosuke Takeshita. Uh, he had a taiko drummer and someone with flowers to greet Takeshita in his own way. Bringing a little bit of the Japanese culture, and I thought it was funny, but it was interesting. I don't know if Takeshita really did accept it, Don Callis. I'm sure he's thinking about it, but we'll see. Now, as you know, we saw the As Boys actually became the tag champions when they somehow cheated their way through. And sure, they're saying they are the best tag team. Well, they're saying another type that they're the best brothers tag team. They said they're better than everyone. Like Top Flight, the Bucks, who else? I'm trying to think. The Lucha Brothers. But Top Flight saying, you mean the Lucha Brothers? No. Don't you mean the Bucks? So basically, they think they are the best. They're not even close to any of the other tag teams. But the Top Flight, in fact, said this, that if they are the best, put the title on the line. But they're dumb enough to leave their bags right in front of Top Flight. I'm sure they probably threw them in the trash or in the river. Who knows? But yeah. Now our next match is our main event. We have Brody King along with Julia Hart taking on Daniel Garcia. Now keep in mind it was Brody King that took out Daniel Garcia at Dynamite during that three-way match for the trios titles. You probably can guess this is the most dominating match because Brody King, he was one of the biggest threats in the House of Black. He's big, he's strong. You ask yourself, how can Daniel Garcia actually overcome it? Well, you can guess since Garcia had Chris Jericho by his side. That kind of changed him when he whacked him with the bat, then put him in a submission like that. But nonetheless, I know for a fact the House of Torture will, the House of Black. Why do I keep comparing House of Torture and House of Black? Dang. Anyway, House of Black will not take this kindly. I wouldn't be surprised if Jericho does continue to proceed for the trios titles regardless. So we'll see about that. So as you know, we got Dynamite coming up soon, some interesting matches, but that's for another time. But right now, let's end it right here with AEW Rampage and move on with our final review, NXT Level Up. Okay, so who levels up on this latest episode of NXT Level Up? Let's find out. So, our opening match, we have Lyra Valkyria taking on Danny Palmer. Now, we have seen Danny Palmer, very impressive. To be honest with you, I can't recall if she ever won a match recently, but good choice for Lyra Valkyria to get back to her basics in order to pick up some good ones. I have to say it was a good one. I'm sure that many fans are looking at Lyra Valkyria as one of those wrestlers that could possibly make it to the top. And that, to me, I can see that. But it was that spinning heel kick that allowed her to pick up a good win against Danny Palmer. So I'll be paying attention more to her since we know she's been making a good impact since arriving to WWE. Now, we do get a little interesting interview with Eddie Thorpe, who we know him in the past as Carl Fredericks. Now, as you know, he has some two successful matches, but however, his biggest challenge right now is none other than Zaya Quinn. So I'm sure he knows that he is dealing with a much powerful competitor, which he has to do something. However, this particular match really um, was really impressive. Now, you can say Zaya Quinn is all powerful in every aspect to take on Eddie Thorpe. Now, Thorpe knows that, but Zion Quinn, who we've seen kind of times uses a great strength, but somehow it was Eddie Thorpe to pick was able to turn it around, and he applied. I'm not sure what it is, but it looks more like a spinning neck breaker that put away Zion Quinn for Eddie Thorpe to win. So I'm sure this was a very impressive match. Now, this was a huge challenge for Eddie Thorpe, but nonetheless, he picked up the win. So let's see what the next challenge goes. Now, our next match, and which is our main event, is Oro Menza taking on Charlie Dempsey. Now, this is one of the most toughest matches to watch due to the fact that this is where we see, of course, Charlie Dempsey was the most dangerous wrestler as a submission. You know he's going to put you in a submission no matter what. And that's exactly what happened. Oro Menza was completely helpless when he was applied that crazy. Oh my God, I can't pronounce. I don't know what it is. But he had no other choice but tap. But is Charlie Dempsey a much bigger threat in the WWE as part of the NXT brand? Well, we'll find out soon enough. But it was a pretty good one. So I think that's pretty much it right now with reviewing our wrestling events. So let's move on with news updates. Okay, so welcome to our news updates. Now, earlier in the day, I did notice something very unusual on Twitter. Team Ambition. Now, those who don't know what it is, Team Ambition is a wrestling academy based out of St. Louis, Missouri. This is where you have wrestlers like Davey Richards, Warhorse, Cameron, something, what's his name? A few others. They have trained the best wrestlers there in the city of St. Louis, but however, they made a very interesting announcement where they were parting ways from Davey Richards. Now, I have no clue what was going on from that, and then later I've been seeing on Twitter, Prestige Wrestling has cut all ties. Just recently, I hear Ireland-based promotion OTT also the same thing. So basically, there was I don't know what was going on. Even MLW received no comments or anything about what's the situation with Davey Richards. Now, many fans have speculated that he did something like a domestic violence or whatever it was. However, it does reveal that he violated a code of conduct, domestic allegations like that. This is very serious stuff. I mean, we haven't seen nothing like this since the Speaking Out movement back at almost 3 years ago. But nonetheless, some people have spoken to Davey Richards saying they asked him about these allegations. He denied it. Now, I'm not going to say, of course, he's going to deny it. I mean, we've seen that where it's like, it's not true. Now, it's still unclear what if this is 100% true or not, because things are kind of interesting. But whatever he did, it cost him everything. Some people say that maybe his career is over. I mean, it could possibly it, but I will try to find out more information down the line and see what this one's leading up to. But yeah, so it is kind of interesting how things have changed from him. Now, moving on. The Queen Indies has announced for their next participant. We have Hyan. Hyan has been announced to participate in the first ever Queen of Indies. So she joined Shigazo from Marvelous, even Unagi, and I forgot who else is involved. Oh yeah, and Lady Apache. But we're still going to be announcing more of them because Queen of Indies will be on in May, and I'm so excited to hear about that. Now, GCW has announced for their upcoming event on in April, Scene of a Crime, which is going to be in Orlando. We have a trilogy in our hands with a particular bit of a friendship. Now it possibly will be ending between both Alex Zane and Blake Christian. Now, if you guys have been following Blake Christian in GCW, he has showed a big attitude. I'm sure Alex Zane is fully aware of what's been going on with him, and I'm sure he's going to try to talk sense into him, but Blake Christian doesn't care. But we'll see about that. So this is going to be a very interesting matchup. I'm totally looking forward to it, so we'll see. Now, as you know, we're getting closer and closer to WrestleMania weekend. WrestleCon is announced for their Super Show on the 30th of March, a Lucha Libre match. We have Rey Horus teaming up with Aramis and Galeno de Mal. They take on the members of Los Vipers, consisting of Toxin and Latigo, and former member Ares. So that's going to be very interesting to watch. So I can't wait to see it. So I think that's pretty much it for our news updates. So I believe it's time to call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Now, coming up, as you know, I mentioned on the New Japan stuff, we do have the remaining of the quarterfinals. We have David Finlay versus Shota Umino, Tama Tonga versus Hiroki Goto. So those are going to be amazing matches to watch. Of course, we have the NWA USA also happening. GCW will be also on the for the next episode is the Eye for an Eye, where we have Masha Slamovich take on Nick Gage for the GCW World Title and plenty other things. Hopefully, I'm just gonna see how this one goes out for everyone. So at the moment, I'm just gonna end it right here for everybody. But I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So goodbye. Mwah. And have a nice day. Bang.